What's up, everybody? Doomwake here. Welcome back to another modern video on the channel. As always, before we continue, be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. The channel has had a ton of support over the past week and a half ever since Modern Horizons 2 has hit the scene on Magic Online. So it seems like y'all are enjoying the content, so thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the video. Have you been enjoying the Modern Horizons 2 so far? And with that, I present you yet more Modern Horizons 2 goodness. So today we're going to be playing a deck that had been popularized prior to Modern Horizons 2. It was around for quite some time, but definitely got some new toys from the new set. So we have what we're calling HammerTime. That's the name of the deck here. Why is it called HammerTime? We're playing Colossus Hammer. This is kind of the build around me. So it's a 1-mana artifact, pretty cheap card. Equipped creature has +10, +10, and loses flying. Well, that's pretty good. How do what's the downside? Well, equip is 8, right? So how do we sidestep that? Because obviously, 1-mana artifact, give your thing +10, +10. If there was a way to cheat this onto a creature, that'd be pretty good. So we have a couple of ways to do that. The first is Sigarda's Aid. So this is a 1-mana enchantment. It says you can cast aura and equipment spells as though they had flash. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. So essentially, if you have Sigarda's Aid in play, you can obviously play Colossus Hammer at instant speed because that's what Sigarda's Aid says, but also you get the second text on Sigarda's Aid, so when this comes into play, you immediately attach it to a creature, sidestepping the equip 8. So you pay 1 mana, put Colossus Hammer into play, immediately put it on a creature, and you don't have to pay the 8 mana. The second way we can get around the equip cost is Pure Steel Paladin. So this is 2 mana for a 2/2. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So we have a couple more equipments than the hammers. Not a ton of equipment, but it's mostly just with hammer. So a little bit of card draw there. And then if you have Metalcraft, which Metalcraft means as long as you control 3 artifacts, that's how you satisfy Metalcraft. All of your equip costs are 0 mana rather than pay their mana costs. So 1 mana for the hammer. If you have Paladin in play, no longer have to pay. You can just pay 0 mana to equip it. So those are our 8 ways that we're cheating the equip cost for the Colossus Hammer, which is, if you pay 1 mana for this thing and equip it for 0 mana, it's a pretty powerful effect. So the rest of our deck, we have Stoneforge Mystic, which another card that allows you to cheat stuff onto play. Obviously, you're paying 2 mana to put a hammer into play, which is not the you'd rather just pay 1 mana for the hammer. But it can make your hammers uncounterable, and, it's still, if you have Sigarda's Aid, you can still attach it at instant speed. We also have 1 Shadow Spear to go as like a 5th sort of equipment to get with Stoneforge Mystic, just in case, we already have a big creature in play. Maybe we need to gain some life or get past some chump blockers. We have Giver of Runes, which is pretty good because a lot of times with Sigarda's Aid, Colossus Hammer with the combo, you have to sort of commit into maybe potentially open mana from your opponent. Maybe they have a removal spell. So Giver of Runes kind of helps you get around that. It allows you to go for the combo a little bit safer as long as you have Giver in play. We have Esper Sentinel. 1 second here. Which is another new card from Modern Horizons 2. It's a 1 mana 1/1. So, not the most powerful card. It is an artifact, which is pretty important, so we can help turn on Metalcraft for Pure Steel Paladin. And whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player plays X, where X is its power. So it's sort of, the idea behind Esper Sentinel is to give you some source of card advantage. Right, like if your opponent, plays a Lightning Bolt on it and they don't pay a mana, you may get to draw a card for it. So that's one. It's not bad with, recursion because you're a Lurrus deck as well. Remember, we have our Lurrus as our companion over here. So, it's not too bad to recur with Lurrus. Kind of taxes their mana a little bit. Obviously, if you put a Colossus Hammer on it, it's, nearly impossible for them to pay 11 mana when they play a spell, so you're almost guaranteed to draw a card. That's probably not your main goal is putting a hammer on Sentinel. You'd rather put it on a creature with flying, like Ornithopter. But, it is a possibility, and it's just mostly just like a 1 mana artifact that taxes your opponent a little bit, maybe gets you a card out of it. Just a fine card with Pure Steel Paladin, somewhat decent with equipments. And then 4 copies of Springleaf Drum. Because we're playing Memnite and Ornithopter to enable our Pure Steel Paladin Metalcraft, Springleaf Drum is actually pretty good in this deck because you get a nice little boost of mana if you draw Springleaf Drum plus a Memnite or an Ornithopter. You just now have you have 3 mana on turn 2. Maybe you can just put Lurrus in your hand on turn 2. Possibly, play a Sigarda's Aid and a creature and a hammer in the same turn or something along those lines, or like Stoneforge Mystic plus hammer. So it gives you some cool lines with additional mana. And then the aforementioned Memnite Ornithopter, just so we can get some cheap artifacts to turn on Paladin. More bodies to equip Colossus Hammer, which is pretty important. And then we have a Tormod's Crypt, which is main deck because we're playing URZAS Saga. So remember, URZAS Saga can tutor up 0s or 1s. So we get a little tutor package with URZAS Saga here. URZAS Saga also really, really powerful in this deck because you can get more Colossus Hammers. So you have even more ways to tutor Colossus Hammer. On top of URZAS Saga just being a completely ridiculous card, it also just happens to tutor the other really important piece of your deck. So it's really, really awesome in this deck. And the rest of the mana base, a bunch of plains, silent clearings because we're playing 22. So it's kind of a high land count, 22 lands for a deck that stops at curve 2 because we're a Lurrus deck. But the thing is, we kind of have a lot of ways to utilize extra mana between URZAS Saga and Stoneforge Mystic plus Colossus Hammer in a turn. Lurrus also utilizes extra mana because we can go like Lurrus and play a 1 or 2 mana spell in the same turn. So you kind of want a higher land count anyways. But the way to mitigate that is by playing 4 copies of Silent Clearing to, if you draw too many lands, you can start sacking them to draw cards. And then Inkmoth Nexus to go with our Colossus Hammer. A very frequent line is animate Inkmoth Nexus with a Sigarda's Aid in play, attack with it. It has flying, so your opponent can't block it. And then after blocks, before damage, because Sigarda's Aid in place, Sigarda's Aid is in place, so you get to play Colossus Hammer at instant speed. After blocks, before damage, cast the Colossus Hammer, slap it on the Inkmoth, 11 poison, getcha. And then you'll notice we have Stoneforge Mystic, but you'll notice the absence of Batterskull, Sword of Feast and Famine, Sword of Fire and Ice, Cauldron Complete. And that's because it's very, very important for our deck to be a Lurrus deck. Again, part of the weaker matchups for HammerTime has always been decks with a plethora of removal spells like Jund, Red Blue Prowess, Red Black, things of that nature. And Lurrus helps you kind of grind out those matchups a little bit. So we want to prioritize being a Lurrus deck first and foremost before a Stoneforge Mystic deck. I think it's Stoneforge Mystic being able to get Colossus Hammer is good enough that I don't think you need the Kaldra, Batterskull, that kind of stuff. And that about does it for the main deck. Sideboard should be mostly straightforward. Again, we have our Lurrus as our companion, 4 copies of Path to Exile. Pretty straightforward card. I had considered playing Prismatic Ending in this deck. That's kind of why I have the search function here. I want to see how Path to Exile does, but I think possibly moving forward that this deck might want to just play Prismatic Ending because it just deals with more permanents like Underworld Cookbook, Witch's Oven, things of that nature. I mean, you do have Seal of Cleansing and Fragmentize for those things, so it's possible you'd rather have Seal and Fragmentize and then play Path to Exile for something like Amulet, because Amulet is the other most popular deck. But we'll go with Path for now, see how that plays out. Then we have our 3 Seal of Cleansing, 2 Fragmentize. Seal of Cleansing, another cool new addition. It's a reprint, but it's in Modern Horizons 2. Pretty sweet with Lurrus because you can just keep casting the Seal over and over again if that ever comes up. So something to watch out for there. And then we have some additional tutor targets for URZAS Saga. We have 2 copies of Needle. I think the second Needle is good because the first Needle usually has to name Asmo, because Asmo is really good against a deck that's trying to, kind of set up a creature-based combo, right? So the first one kind of has to always name Asmo, and then the second one can potentially name, possibly Cookbook, possibly Urza, not Urza Saga, but Urza, Lord High Artificer, possibly Cauldron, or Witch's Oven if your opponent's doing that kind of stuff. But I do like the second one because they may have answers for the first one, and you may not have time to Lurrus. You might just need to Saga for the second one. We have an additional copy of Tormod's Crypt for Living End, Dredge, Graveyard decks like that. We have a Soul Guide Lantern for the same reasons, and then we have an Expedition map, which I believe comes in against the control deck space when you need to grind. So, you know, imagine a scenario where you Urza Saga, second chapter make a construct, third chapter make a construct, go get a map, which finds you another Saga, and you can kind of just keep going that way. So against control, you just have kind of an endless stream of Sagas at that point. You can also lure us back the map to get more Sagas, so it just gives you like this inevitability against the control decks. So, again, fairly straightforward if you have seen this deck in action, but if not, I hope you enjoy the content. And with that, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 1. All right, you two, back here for round number 1. We are on the draw. Start our league with HammerTime. Apologies in advance if y'all hear some noise outside. They're removing some trees, so they seem to have slowed down a little bit, so hopefully not too much noise, but if you hear anything in the background, I do sincerely apologize. This hand looks decent. I kind of wish I had a zero mana creature to go with the Springleaf Drum, but we can go turn 1 Drum, and then turn 2 we get to play. Maybe they'll take our Drum now. Kind of okay with Overgrown Tomb, Thoughtseize, because we have Urza Saga, and Urza Saga is just kind of the nuts if they're playing anything like remotely fair or mid-rangey. So, I don't know. I kind of assume they're going to take... It really depends on their hand. I could see them taking any one of these 4 cards. My initial reaction was Springleaf Drum, because if they don't take Drum... I guess if they... Yeah, I don't know. It really depends on their hand. It's not the easiest hand for them to Thoughtseize, though. It's a giver. Also reasonable. Kind of wish they had taken Drum now. I am going to play Drum. The reason I'm playing Drum is if I draw another 1-mana spell, I get to go Saga, tap Plains for Sentinel, tap Drum, Sentinel for another spell, tap the Saga for this, so I get to basically triple spell. If I draw a 1-mana spell, which I did not. So... I think the big question is, do we play the Colossus Hammer? So playing the Hammer... Nah, I think playing the Hammer's kind of bad. Because it's only really good if we draw Paladin, but if we draw Paladin, it's probably better to hold it anyway, so we draw a card off of it. And it's especially bad if we draw Sigarda's Aid. So I think I'm just going to play Saga. Play Sentinel. Just put a bunch of mana into play. I guess there's no reason to tap that, right? Just play Drum and pass. Because I'm not going to play the Hammer. I think that makes sense to me. Also totally missed the fact that they have Steam Vents. So I guess they're playing Death Shadow? I think that would make sense. It's gotta be a Death Shadow deck, right? Okay, maybe Zoo? Zoo with Thoughtseize. Huh. Alright, take 3. Take 3. I would like to draw Sigarda's Aid, please. I would accept Pure Steel Paladin. Ornithopter. Also, kind of doesn't do anything. Pretty sure I would rather make a construct than put Luris into my hand. Now I'm just trying to debate if I want to play the Hammer or not. I'm going to play the Silent Clearing because I think there's actually a good chance I sacrifice it because I can tap 2 drums and these 2 creatures to make a construct and then tap the Plains to sack the Silent Clearing. But I'm going to hold the Hammer. Again, there's really no reason to play it, and holding it is way more beneficial if I draw Sigarda's Aid and or Pure Steel Paladin. So, and I have enough mana to go like tap 2 Plains, play Paladin, tap the drum and the Paladin, play the Hammer, move the equipment, do all that stuff. So we should be fine. Bloodbraid Elf. Okie dokie. They hit Shardless Agent, the Dream. What are they going to Shardless into? Another Tarmogoyf. And they revealed a bunch of Bloodbraid Elves. Alright. Bloodbraid Shardless Goyf is pretty good, but they can only attack with this. So, kind of okay with that. Unless they want to just, like, put an elf in the trash for 3 damage, which I don't think they would do. Or a Goyf in the trash. Alright, so I'll take 4. No reason to chump block quite yet. Okay, so let's go. Make a construct. Sack the clearing. Trying to find Paladin. Shadow Spear is not bad. I'm trying to see if I can do it all. So, if I make a construct, I tap Plains, Springleaf Drum, Sentinel. So, on untapped, I would have Drum, Construct, Ornithopter. I would get a Drum off of this, right? And then I could go land with 2 drums and 2 creatures untapped to go Shadow Spear plus equip. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So we can go tap these, make a construct. Get a drum. It's a little awkward getting a drum here because I don't really necessarily need a 3rd drum, but allowing me to make a construct and equip the Shadow Spear is pretty huge. So I think ultimately it is worth it. We'll tap the Thopter, this construct, equip here, and they don't have any good blocks. So I'd go to 22, and this would be 4, 5, 6, 9, 13, 17. I guess I would be exactly dead the Tribal Flames. If I hold back, just make sure I did the math right. So 9 puts me to 22. 4, 8, 11, 13, 17, plus Tribal Flames is 5 is 22. Because they can just take it and go to 2. If I hold back, the problem with holding back is that I'm just dead to any removal spell. This is really tough. I think I'm supposed to attack. I don't know. I only died Tribal Flames. They also only have 1 red source, but yeah, they just instantly took it. I kind of think they have Tribal Flames. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do there. If I could gain 1 more point of life. But I don't think there was any way for me to put an additional artifact into play. I guess it's like a question of what removal spell could they realistically have if I hold back. Prismatic Ending? I don't know if maybe Path to Exile if they play that, but... well, looks like I'm dead. Unfortunate. Oh, okay, they just didn't have the Tribal Flames. Cool. Never mind. I got you baited a little bit. Alright, so against Zoo... I guess maybe I want Path. I don't know if it's necessary, but the Graveyard Hate, not really good. Needle, map is too slow. Map is too slow, Needle doesn't do anything. Seal of Cleansing, sort of interesting against Scion of Draco, but I think I'd rather just have Path. Fragmentize doesn't do anything, so yeah, it's really just Path is what we're looking at here. Could, like, Trim on Memnite. Just cut all the Memnites? No, I don't need the Crypt. The Crypt can go. They don't have any graveyard synergies. Esper Sentinel does not seem ideal, especially on the draw against a deck with a lot of creatures. So maybe just cut the Sentinels and play 4 paths. Cut 2 Sentinels, play 4 paths. 21 creatures. Plus the Sagas in the next eye. Cut more Memnites maybe instead of Sentinels. I don't know. I think Sentinels, maybe on the play Sentinels better. And just like maybe go back up to 4 Sentinel if we go to game 3. But okay, game 2. This is a one-lander. It's a decent one-lander. Well, not really. Because they probably just take Stoneforge Mystic and then I have no creatures. So then I have to draw a land and a creature for this hand to be good. It's close, but I think I'm actually going to mulligan it. Maybe I'm supposed to keep that. Well, this hand has no lands. Okay. Let's put back an Ornithopter. I think I have to put back Path. I have to keep both lands. Maybe I'm supposed to ship a land on the draw. Try and get a little greedy here. But I think I have to keep the Paladin and the Hammer. Just my two best cards. We have Thoughtseize. Inquisition. They have a lot of discard spells. I still can't tell if their deck is like more aggressively slanted with the Zoo package or if it's more mid-range slanted with the Goyf package. It's very strange. This time I'm going to play the Hammer because they have more discard spells, and I'd rather just blank their discard spells because I have no other cards in my hand, right? So yeah, it sucks if I draw Aid, but... They showed us Thoughtseize last game, and now Inquisition this game. They have a lot of discards, so I'd rather just blank their discard. Territorial Kavu. Okie dokie. Alright, here's a Saga, pass. Make some constructs. We'll take 5 damage. Declare no blocks. Territorial Kavu is a card that's definitely impressed me when I play these Zoo decks. I think it is probably one of if not the best reasons to be playing these 5-color Zoo decks. Okay, I'm not going to play Path this turn. I'm just going to make Construct, untap, make Construct, play Path next turn. I'm willing to take 5 more damage to make an additional Construct. Because they're just going to be 5/5s. They also didn't have another 2-drop last turn. They could have a Shardless this turn. I guess in this scenario, they Shardless into a discard spell. Then I would probably... yeah, I would probably Path at that point. But if they just go to attacks, I'm going to let this happen. Honestly, if they cast a discard spell, I might just let it go anyways. Because I'm putting myself in burn range with Tribal Flames, but... Night of Autumn. So I assume that's going to blow up the Saga. They're going after the Hammer? Sure. I'm okay with that. That doesn't really do anything. Make a Saga. I'm shocked they didn't go after the Saga. Alright, make another one. Now I think I just get Shadow Spear. Then I could start going to Browntown next turn with the Shadow Spear. Yeah. And then I think I'm just going to hold up Path for Kavu. Blocking this turn is a risky proposition. I could play Esper Sentinel as my 5th artifact. However, if I play Esper Sentinel, it's a 5/5, and I block, and they have a removal spell before damage. My creature's down a 4/4, which chump blocks. So I think it's better for me to just hold up Path here. They guess they could also be playing with counterspells, so it's possible that if they go to fetch end step, I want to Path first. And if I'm pathing, I think I'm going to attack here. I think it's a pretty good attack. Because I have this other one to block this anyways. So I can attack this turn, path the Kavu, next turn play Sentinel, and equip the Shadow Spirit on one of the constructs. We can present a pretty easily lethal attack next turn. Yeah, I don't want to just randomly get got by like a Stubborn Denial. I'm just going to path this thing now. I don't know what their deck has, and I'd rather not, you know. There's no reason to get blown out by it, because I know I'm casting Path either way. Maybe there's, like, something to be said about not letting them know what I have, but the Path to Exile is so... It's just too important to guarantee resolve. And I've seen zoo decks like this. I guess it's, like, so unlikely for their deck to have Stubborn Denial when they have Shardless and Bloodbraid Elf. So I guess maybe for that reason I shouldn't be playing around counterspells. But you never know. I've seen people do some weirder stuff. Tarmogoyf is fine. How big is Goyf? 6'7"? Alright, I guess that gets past the Shadow Spear, because this is only going to be a 6/6. So I need to find a 0-mana artifact or a drum. What's this? Is this Kolaghan's Command? Tribal Flames, the Construct. Okay. I'll take 2. That is acceptable. So now I guess I can't attack, which is unfortunate. This is an interesting game. They have 1 card left. So if I put Lurrus in hand, I then have to chump block the Goyf with Ornithopter, because I go to 6 off the Silent Clearing. I chump block the Goyf, take 4, go to 2, leave the Construct in play. Next turn, play Lurrus Construct. Yeah, but then I'm just chump blocking Goyf with Lurrus, because I can't play that. I need to be able to get this Paladin into play so I can hammer plus Shadow Spear or something. I just don't have time for that, I don't think. So, if I don't have time for that, what's my best play? Just play Sentinel Hammer. Chump block there. Go to 3. Wow, this is a really tough spot. Could Sentinel plus equip the Ornithopter, get in for a point. I would stay at 7 because I gain a life back. They would go to 6. And then next turn, Sentinel chump blocks Goyf. Construct eats a 2/2. I go to 5. So they can't attack with everything. They just attack with Goyf. I chump block with Sentinel. Yeah, I think that's my best line. Keep the hammer in my hand in case I draw a Paladin. Or a Sigarda's Aid. I guess I could also leave the Thopter back. Is there really a difference between them being at 6 and them being at 7? It also gives me a blocker for both of these. In case they have a removal spell for this, then I can just go chump, eat this. Like even if they kill this, they now just don't have any attacks with these 2. Yeah, I think it's actually better to just pass. I don't think there's really a difference between them being at 7 and them being at 6. They drew Bloodbraid Elf. That's not good for me. They hit Tribal Flames. Also not good for me. So they put me in a 1. I go up to 2. So I'm dead if they attack with everything. I could have put the... I guess I could have put it on the Construct to play around this, but... Maybe I should have done that. This board looks a lot better if I should... Yeah, I just messed up. I should have... There's no reason to put the Shadow Spear in the Thopter if I'm not attacking. My initial reaction was I thought I was attacking. So I put the Shadow Spear in the Construct. They can't make this attack. So then they just attack with Goyf. I chump block with Sentinel, and I draw Giver. Game still lasts. That was still going to be a close game. I did mess that up, though. Alright, we'll go to game 3. I know I said I wanted Sentinel, but I think Sentinel's still kind of bad. Keep it like this. This hand is pretty sick, so I'm going to keep this. I'm going to lead on Sigarda's Aid, because if they have a discard spell, it's the one card I want to keep in hand the most, or the one card that I want in play the most. Because remember, this once I have this in play, this can get hammers, and hammers can just instantly attach with the Sigarda's Aid in play. So, I think the 8 is the most important card. It's the one card that we've been missing the first couple of games. So I can go Saga. Tap Saga, play Drum. Tap this, play Sentinel. Always want to play the Drum before your creature, because imagine a world where I played Sentinel and then Drum. They could respawn and kill the Sentinel so I wouldn't get a mana off the Drum, so it's much better to do it this way. And these are the draws why you play this deck. Like, this is kind of like the actual Stone Cold Nuts. I mean, I guess it's not like turn 2 equipping an Ornithopter with a hammer, but this draw is really good. Let's see what they have. They also didn't play anything on turn 1. Makes it even better. They're going to need something really good. Tarmogoyf is probably not going to cut it this game. Scion of Draco... Scion of Draco's good, but I don't know how good it is. Lightning Helix the Giver. Okay. Backup Giver. Now I can just play Giver and hold up Construct. That seems to be what I want to do. This Urza Saga card is pretty good. And then next turn, I can go make a second construct, get hammer, put it on here, and then have giver up. Yeah, this is going to be tough for them. Because now, even if they have, like last game they played Knight of Autumn to kill an enchantment, even if they have Knight of Autumn to kill Sigarda's Hate here, which is kind of a requirement, then we still just make 2 constructs, Shadow Spear up one of them, and they still probably are in a really bad spot. So they're going to need something really good to get out of this. A single disenchant is not really going to catch them back up. And a disenchant doesn't even solve the giver problem, which is also a pretty big issue when I'm making constructs. We kind of just got him squeezed both ways. Another Lightning Helix. Yeah, it's probably not going to do it. Alright, make a construct in response. Well, they're actually just dead, right? I could have Force of Vigor. Something that I could consider playing around. Well, they didn't force in... Yeah, I'm just gonna get a hammer. Because I feel like if they had forced, they would have forced the Saga before I drew. But you never know. We'll get a hammer. Attached to the Sentinel. And then I'm going to play Memnite. Tap the Drum in the Memnite. Play a Stoneforge Mystic. Get another hammer. And then go to attacks. And then I can attack with both and hold up hammer plus Shadow Spear. I guess this is a more all-in line, but... It's pretty bad if they have Force of Vigor. I will say that. But we have a follow-up Paladin, so it's really not even that bad. Even if they kill both of these creatures, we just have a Paladin with 2 hammers. So, this is lethal, so they have to do something now. Given that they haven't conceded yet, it kind of makes sense for them to have force. Maybe I should have made another construct there. Alright, draw some cards. Then we pass. Alright, you can go. What did they pitch to force? Bloodbraid Elf. Okay. If they have a discard spell as a follow-up, that could be an issue. Scion of Draco, probably okay. I think I'm not going to cast the Shadow Spear because I want to draw a card off the Paladin. Oops. Play my land. Play Paladin. Let's see what they have. Okay, they've had enough. Yeah, so we were just going to go put 2 hammers on one of these things, Shadow Spear up the Memnite. Yeah, so they had 2 removal spells and a Force of Vigor, but they missed a bunch of land drops, so wasn't quite enough. Yeah, this deck felt pretty powerful. Urza Saga looked pretty good that game. I could have played around Force of Vigor by making a Saga token, which I probably should have done. I had kind of didn't think about Force of Vigor at first, but overall, pretty sweet games. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 2. Alrighty, YouTube, back here for round number 2. We are on the draw once more. What do we have here? Ooh, Santa's quite good. Missing a Saga, but we get to go turn 1, Nexus, Drum, 0 mana creature, Sigarda's Aid. Turn 2, Land, Stone Forge, plus Hammer. Yeah, this hand's kind of got it all. So let's go Nexus, Drum, Ornithopter, Sigarda's Aid, Memnite. And the reason I'm playing Ornithopter to tap the drum is I want to have a creature back to block Ragavan. So if they attack, I will block. And the nice thing about this setup is if they have a removal spell, if they want to get in with Ragavan, they have to do the removal spell first. Now we just play Stoneforge. We get a hammer, and I'm not going to go for a hammer while they have mana open, so I'm just going to pass. Basically, I'm just going to make it so that they can never tap mana for the rest of the... Well, they have to leave up like 1 or 2 mana for the whole game. If they ever tap out, then we just slam a hammer, and then they lose probably. Or they're going to tap out. Do they have Lava Dart? Or not Lava Dart, Gut Shot perhaps? Because they are dead to the Nexus. I don't think I'm going to play around Gut Shot. It looks like they're playing some sort of Devotion deck. Maybe they just didn't have a choice. Alright. Well, I'm going to go for it. Animate Nexus. Attack with Nexus. Remember, you have to let them go to blocks first because this has flying winded attacks, right? So they don't have any flying creatures to block. So after blocks, remember you have the 8, so this gives this flash. But you need to do it after blocks because it says equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying. So if you play it before blocks, it no longer has flying, then they get jump blocks. So make sure you do it after blocks. Well, that was a quick game. So I'm guessing Mono Red Devotion. I've seen this deck kind of pop around a little bit. I think Nassif was playing it on his stream yesterday. I'm pretty sure their deck has Shattering Spree, which is not the best for me, I will say that. I'm not a huge fan of Path, because they don't really have any big creatures. Their deck is about like putting a bunch of small creatures into play. Like Ragavan, 2 drops with Nykthos, and then they kind of just get going with Nykthos. So they don't have any like really big creatures. I think their payoff is Fanatic of Mogus, which is not... Path isn't really good against that. Seal of Cleansing. I think they sideboard Eidolon of the Great Rebel, so Seal of Cleansing could be good. Not really sure. Maybe I want the map. Well, they also have Blood Moon, so I don't even know if I want map for Saga. I definitely don't want Tormod's Crypt. Needle could shut down a Chandra Torch of Defiance, perhaps. The Graveyard Hate sucks. I don't really know. I don't think any of my cards are bad, per se, except the Crypt. And I don't really think that any of my sideboard cards are good. So it's weird not to sideboard, but I just don't think any of these things make sense. Maybe just 1 seal? Just if I, like, go ham with the Lurrus? Yeah, alright, I'll do that. I'm not really sure what's good against their deck. Maybe I'm incorrect for not bringing in Path, but there's a Lurrus. This hand is not nearly as good as our first hand. I don't know if they would bring in Blood Moon. I still think I'm not going to keep this hand, but... Okay, this hand has some upside. This hand's, like, pretty good if we draw a Paladin or a Sigarda's Aid. So I'm going to keep this, put back Plains. Because it's my third land, I want to make sure I have double white in case I draw Paladin, but I'd rather keep clearing Plains than Plains, because if I draw a land, I'm really going to want to cycle this clearing. Okay. So let's go Plains, Drum. And I think I'm actually not going to play the Memnite or the Ornithopter. I think there's kind of no reason to. Maybe I can bait them into casting a removal spell if I just play Memnite. Yeah. I actually think that's fine. Just bait them into killing the Memnite. I don't really care if they want to bolt the Memnite. They might think that I need the mana next turn. I don't because I have another 0, but there's a chance I bait them into casting a bolt on Memnite there, which would be a really good exchange for me. Oh, it's bad if they have the Colossus, the Yearling card. Flametongue Yearling, I think it's called. Alright, well, I get punished for not playing the Ornithopter against Eidolon, but... Do I Stoneforge or do I Lurrus? This is tough. I think I have to Stoneforge and just kind of hope that I draw an Aid or a Hammer, or excuse me, an Aid or a Pure Steel Paladin. I'll pass. Could double block, but they could have Lightning Bolt. I think I'm going to not double block. Double blocking is not awful there, but... Harmonic Prodigy, so Prodigy plus Hold Up Bolt, almost certainly. Yeah. This does not look good for us. Alright, Lurrus, and pass, I guess? And sure, yeah, that's fine. We need to find a Hammer or excuse me, an Aid or a Paladin. Not even sure it's good enough at this point because they definitely have Lightning Bolt. Tried to bait them into using the bolt on turn 1 to no avail. They're not attacking with Prodigy. I mean, now that I have the Lurrus, I kind of don't mind if they want to use the bolt here, because then I can just Lurrus back the Stoneforge. So I think this is actually okay for me. If they have bolt, sure. If they don't have bolt, sure. I think either exchange is good. Forcing them to bolt here and not on the Lurrus, I think, is potentially something that would help me get back in this game. Okay, that's fine. Can live with that. Seasoned Pyromancer. And now they're also just dead if we draw Sigarda's Aid. So that's cool. So I would like to draw Sigarda's Aid. Only a 4-outer, but... Esper Sentinel. They have 2 cards. I definitely can't play Hammer because I need to leave myself the out of drawing Sigarda's Aid. That's the only way I'm going to be able to win this game, I think. So I can go cast Lurrus. What am I playing from the graveyard? could play Stoneforge Mystic, but I have to take a lot of damage. Because I have to go Ornithopter, so I would have to go tap 3 lands, Lurrus, take 2 for Metal, that's 1 trigger. Play Silent Clearing, that's another damage, so that's 3 damage. Play the Ornithopter from hand, that's 5 damage, and then tap the Drum the Ornithopter and the Silent Clearing to play the Stoneforge Mystic, which is 2 more damage. So I have to take 7 damage if I want to go Lurrus, Thopter, Stoneforge. Puts me at 9. Stoneforge blocks Elemental, Lurrus blocks Elemental. If they have Stone nothing, I take 5. 9. I would go up to 12 off the Lurrus, take 5. Yeah, I guess that does kind of do it. Other option is Lurrus Memnite. And then, like, Sentinel Thopter, just make a bunch of blockers. But then I'm also taking 1,000 damage. I have to play Lurrus. That's 100% happening. So 14. Basically, I need to make sure that I can survive at 5 life, because my only out, again, is to be able to go Aid, Animate, Hammer, Lethal. That's my only out. So as long as I stay at 5 life, I think I'm just going to take the Memnite line, and then play one of these. Go to 10, play this, pass. I have 3 blockers with a Lurrus, so I'm effectively at 13, unless they bolt the Lurrus, but if they bolt the Lurrus, I go chump chump. Okay, well, now I guess I'm just dead anyway, so it did not matter what I did. Okay, game 3. Well, still don't really want any of these. I mean, maybe I need Path to Exile against Eidolon, because it's like one of the only cards I care about. I guess it also kills the Shaman, which is not irrelevant. I think Sentinel's kind of bad. They just have no spells. Maybe 3 paths. Alright, we'll try 3 paths. I don't want to draw too many paths. I think I want to draw exactly 1 path a game. I also think I just need to mulligan more aggressively. Just mulligan to Aid or Paladin when I'm on the play. Because they don't have a ton of interaction for that. I think they only have 4 bolts, and that's it. Sometimes they have Bone Crusher Giant. Not sure. Looks like they're going back to the drawing board a little bit. On the play, which is always good. Let's see if we can just have the nuts again. Our first, can we just have our first hand again? I think our first hand was like best possible, or at least really close to best possible. So let's just have that hand again. It's just that easy. Maybe the opponent decided to go make a sandwich. Maybe. Maybe not. Alright, back here. Game 3. After our opponent decided to change some things in sideboarding. Yeah, this hand's good? Question mark? Yes, this hand's good. I'm going to go turn 1, Plains Aid. Turn 2, Stoneforge, get a hammer, and then if we draw a land, then we're good. Depending on what they do, of course. It all depends on what they do. Alright, so they're going to hold up mana. Alright, well, this is what we call in the biz the nuts. So I'll just get another hammer. The second hammer is good too because I think their only interaction is usually just damage-based removal. So if you can get to a spot where you go for a hammer kill, they bolt in response, you play another hammer, that usually just gets them. So they also can just they can't play a spell because if they tap out, they die. So it's like we're just in this insane spot where they have to just like hold up all their mana. They have Relic of Progenitus. That's an interesting card to sideboard in. Do I want to play around Path to Exile? I mean, probably not. They're mono red, so I don't think I'm going to play around Path. It sucks if they had Path, but... don't think they're a Path to Exile deck. Fury is also a sorcery speed spell. Alright, hammer. Hammer, dead. Turn 3 kill. That's how you do it. See you back in just a little bit. Round number 3. Alright, YouTube, back here for round number 3. HammerTime League. We're playing against Canister. I don't know what Canister's playing right now. He was playing Ponza earlier. Looks like he's still on Ponza. Alright, what do we got? We have turn 1 Sigarda's Aid. I guess we could turn 1 Sentinel, turn 2 Aid plus Hammer. I'm going to keep this and just play a Sentinel on 1. Gives us higher upside. If they tap out, maybe I'll go for Aid plus Hammer. Oh, I misclicked. I meant to play Esper Sentinel. That's not too bad. I must have just clicked on the wrong card. I think it's better to play Sentinel there. I'm not 100% positive. I think it's probably close, but... now I can just play Stoneforge, which is probably better. Just get a hammer. And then we can double hammer next turn. Yeah, so it actually kind of worked out better that we played Aid. I guess we could have just went Sentinel into Stoneforge into Aid plus double hammer, so it kind of would have worked out the same way. But now if they cast something like Blood Moon, they're just dead. So could have Fury. If they have Fury plus Blood Moon, maybe. They're down a lot of resources, and then we still just have Sentinel and the double hammer. So, I mean, they wouldn't die if they had Fury plus Blood Moon, but they would not be in a good spot. Sigarda's Aid plus Colossus Hammer. Still got it. Still got it. Canister is deep in the tank. The good news is it seems if you're watching in round 1, I was saying that there were some people outside doing some tree removal. It seems like they are now gone, so that's always a good thing. All right, so they died. Unless they have Fury. They do have Fury. Okay. Now they only have 3 cards. And they pitched a Magus. That is fine. Let's play Esper Sentinel. We could double hammer main phase. Is that good? They have 3 cards. I mean, their removal is all damage based. Maybe I can at least play 1 hammer now, just to play around a lightning bolt, and then just save the other hammer. Yeah, I think that's fine. Like now they can chump block this thing, but I think it's okay. We can find a giver. Next turn we can just put Lurrus in our hand. They're also in a spot where if they don't have like exactly Seasoned Pyromancer to make a bunch of blockers, they might not want to block next turn. And then we just have lethal with the other hammer. I guess pillage is a consideration to not do that. Okay. That is definitely a consideration. Sure. How about a Stone Forge Mystic? We have 2 cards. I think I'd rather just put Luris in my hand. And there's Sigarda's Aid. And pass. And then if they have another pillage, I'm kind of like incentivizing them to either blow up the second planes for Luris or blow up the hammer. Either which, I guess. Well, there's no way they blow up the hammer because then I just Luris hammer. Obosh. Alright, Obosh to hand, that's fine. So now we can go Luris Sentinel and still hold up Colossus Hammer. And then I cast the Bolt in response, because they don't want to pay for the Esper Sentinel tax, and then I can just slam the hammer on the Luris, if they have a Bolt here. So it works out pretty well for me. Alright. Pass. And now, even if they have Pillage on this hammer, we still have a Luris to kind of go to town. I guess they could have Pillage plus Bolt? So Pillage the hammer, Bolt the Luris, but then we just have Stoneforge for another hammer, so I think that's okay. They need another red, too. Seasoned Pyromancer. Okay. I think I can live with that. Alright, let's play Stoneforge Mystic. Get Shadow Spear. Play Stoneforge Mystic. Get Hammer. Go to attacks. They are dead. They are dead. Alright, take lethal, Mr. Canister. Game 2. Game 2 against Ponza. How much do I care about Blood Moon? To the extent where I want Seal and or Fragmentize. Definitely don't want the Crypts. Map is pretty bad against Blood Moon. Needle does not seem great. Esper Sentinel seems somewhat mediocre against them. I don't know what other sideboard cards he has. I don't think Path is very good. I think maybe some number of Seals could be okay. Maybe just like 1 Sentinel for 2 Fragmentize. Maybe that's better against Blood Moon because it's cheaper. Just, you know, easier on the curve. So we can try that. I don't want to do too much sideboarding. I don't want a ton of Seals. Again, Path. They're creatures, for the most part, you don't generally care about. The only, like, creature you usually maybe care about is, like, Hardcast Fury or Charm Up, but those cards are all pretty slow, so I don't know. I think it makes sense to do it this way. So this hand has turn 2 Pure Steel plus Shadow Spear. So if we draw a hammer, this hand is pretty good. I'm down to keep this. Depending on what we draw, I might lead on Nexus instead of Plains. Because if they have... Okay, well, no, it doesn't matter too much. I guess I still don't really want them killing the basic planes. But I think if they have Magus, I'd much rather lead Nexus. If they have Pillage, I'd much rather lead... Well, no, if they have Magus, I'd rather lead Planes. If they have Nexus, or Pillage, I'd rather lead Nexus. And I think in general post-board, they have more Blood Moons than Pillages. And also, they might want to save Pillage. So... I'm also just not going to play the Ornithopter. There's no reason to. I don't want them to know I have it. I guess the reason is if I draw exactly Sigarda's aid, but then I would need to go Paladin... No, yeah, that wouldn't matter. Yeah. Pillage my planes. Okie dokie. Yeah, I just want to use my mana. Plus, if I don't play the Paladin here, they might have... If I don't play the Paladin, they could have Blood Moon, which cuts me off double white. So even though I don't get value out of this, I think it's better to play it now. Even though now they could just kill it, which would suck. Yeah. It's unfortunate. Pyromancer, Obosh. Okay. Now I think I just Luris. Yeah, it's just Luris. Pass. They missed a land drop, which is good. They don't have another land. So I can't Luris Paladin. So it's possible I just want to save the Luris for a turn until I can play the Paladin the same turn. So why do I do that? Let's go Stoneforge. Get a hammer. And do I want to play the Shadow Spear? Yeah, I think I just want to get it into play. I think that's fine. So they know about these two. I'll send them a message with the Ornithopter. Send them a message. What does he got? Nothing in a turn. I like that. He knows about the Luris, so likely wouldn't even cast a rule spell if he had it. Another Stoneforge. So... I don't know if he has anger. I'm just gonna play Stoneforge, get another hammer. Just gonna do this. I don't mind just sitting here doing nothing. I don't want to play Luris until I can get value out of it with the Paladin. So that's why I'm choosing to not play Luris here. They might stomp this, but kind of don't mind about that. Like, that doesn't really concern me too much. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Tap Stomping Ground. So maybe they Obosh this turn. So it'd be a Sprawl. And a Bone Crusher. They chose black. Why would they choose black? Fragmentize. I guess Fragmentize could keep them off Obosh mana. Might be relevant. It's just so likely they have a Bolt at this point. I really don't want to play the Luris. Question is, do I want to play a hammer? So the reason I would want to play a hammer is if I draw land, then I could immediately equip a hammer to, let's say, a Stoneforge Mystic, and then even if they kill the Paladin in response, because it just makes it more awkward, you know what I'm saying? So I end up splitting a difference by playing one of these this turn, which I think actually makes sense. Oh, but I could have just held up the Stoneforge activation. I guess if I do that, I take an extra point of damage, so I think it's better to do it this way. Because I could have just passed with all my mana, but then if I put the hammer in end step with the Stoneforge, I just end up taking another damage. Whereas I could just play the hammer now, and it's kind of the same thing. Memnite. Okay. So, just play... It's actually better to play Ornithopter here, because if they have Fury, they only get to kill 2 of my 3 things. I guess they can only kill 2 things either way, but... I'm just pass. I'm just not going to do anything until they eventually tap mana. We're just going to make this game really awkward for them. And yeah, see, they're not even putting Obosh in their hands. They obviously have something. I'm just going to take this. I think at this point, I'm just going to put another hammer into play. Just make it super awkward for them if I draw a land. Because they could have Fracturing Gust. Is that a card they play? Maybe. Not playing around it. I still only have 4 mana here. Oh, looks like the tree people are back. I spoke too soon earlier. Okay. Play a Sentinel. Equip Shadow Spear to Sentinel. Pass. Equipping Sentinel so that if they have a spell, they have to tax a little bit more if they want to not make me draw a card. I just don't really see a reason to play this Lurrus yet. Maybe I don't know. Like I said, it's just so obvious they have a removal spell. So just waiting to find a land. What is this? They actually have Gust? Oh, okay. Alright, well, I'm just going to concede then. Never mind. Alright, game 3. Did not know that card was in their deck, but now that I do, we can play a little bit differently. Seal of Cleansing does kill Utopia Sprawl. Is that better than Esper Sentinel? On the play, I kind of like Sentinel. I'm just going to do this. Play first. Show Lurrus. What does this hand do? This hand is missing the usual stuff that we're missing. However, we do have a turn 2 construct. I think I'm going to keep this. I think I'm actually just going to go Saga, Drum, pass. And the next one I can go Plains, Ornithopter, make a Saga token. Yeah, I like that. Arbor Elf. Okay. Let's see what they have. Maybe a Pillage? If they pillage, they probably pillage the Plains. It's the same thing as pillaging the Saga, but... Alright, they have 4 mana. But they have Obosh, so they don't have any 4-drops, so it's just going to be a 3-mana spell. So pillage. Looks like a pillage. Pillage the plains. They're choosing to pillage the Saga, which is interesting. Okay. So why don't we go Ornithopter, attack for 4, and then post-combat Stoneforge plus Fragmentize? Yeah, I like this play. I don't want to put Lurrus in my hand because I want to keep them off as mana if possible, and I'd like to play the Stoneforge this turn as well. I'm just gonna get the Shadow Spear because I already have a Colossus Hammer, and I can just Shadow Spear this next turn. Kind of go ham a little bit. Well, if they have Gust, I'm gonna lose. Red-green. Hopefully they do not have land plus Fracturing Gust. Bone Crusher, the Ornithopter. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. It's not a Sigarda's Aid. So I can just go Drum Lurrus. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, pass. Need to find a Sigarda's Aid or a Pure Steel Paladin. If we find that, we're probably in really good shape. But if not, then we shall see. So they're skewing access to Lightning Bolt. That's probably a good sign for me. Drew URZAS Saga. Also probably okay. Let's do that. Let's go... Do I even want to play Lurrus here? I only get an Ornithopter back, and it's so likely to die anyways. So I feel like it's better off for me to just not play Lurrus here. Like, what is I don't even know what the Ornithopter is accomplishing. I guess it just uses my mana. Yeah, I guess that's fine. I just want to use my mana. Go. I feel like they have Fracturing Gust in hand and they're just waiting to draw land. But again, there's really just not that much I can do about that. Alright, Obosh to hand. Fury. Killed the Lurrus in the Stoneforge. So they have an Obosh and probably a Gust. Alright, let's take 4. That's fine. Don't care too much about that. Ooh. Does that mean they're dead? Perhaps. No, not quite, because this loses Trample. That was a really good draw, though. I'm gonna tap the Saga. Always yes. Equip for 0. Equip for 0. So this is not lethal. It's close to lethal, but not quite. So they probably just take 11? I guess I messed up and I should have not tapped this. I should have tapped the drum and the Thopter, and then I could have made another Saga token. So I messed that up pretty badly. Equip 0. I'm going to make sure they can't kill the Paladin. So I'm just going to put everything on the Paladin. Just play this and pass. Because the Paladin is my most important card here. So hopefully they dodge a land. Hopefully they don't draw a land for Fracturing Gust. Because I do believe that is in their hand. But I don't really think there's much I can do about it. And even if I leave up Saga, I mean, I should have left up Saga regardless. There was no reason not to do that. It's just tap the drum and the Ornithopter instead of the Saga. And then I could have left up a Saga activation with... Well, actually... Yeah, I could have done that. All right, we got the match against Canister, 3-0. Hope you enjoyed the games. See you back in just a little bit for round number 4. All right, we are back here for round number 4. We have defeated the Canister and are now 3-0. Opponent reveals Giganta. What do we got? We have a hand that is missing a hammer. We have an aid and a paladin and a drum. I don't know if you're supposed to keep like this hands like this, but now with Saga with essentially 12 copies of hammer, I think it's okay to keep this hand because it's really just a hammer away from kind of the stones. So I think this hand's okay to keep. Definitely could backfire. So it looks like they're Zoo, Breeding Pool, Wild and the Cattle. Oh look, a hammer. So trying to think what's the best way to go about doing this. So if I go Plains Drum, turn 2 I can go Plains... No, that doesn't work. Because then I won't have a Nexus in play to be able to attack on turn 3. But if I go Plains Drum, I can go turn 2 Plains Paladin, tap Paladin Drum, play Hammer, draw a card. But then I'm short the Nexus. If I go Nexus Drum... No, I think it's just highest upside to play Sigarda's Aid here. I'm not 100% sure if that's right, but... Plains Drum is in line as well. But then I'm not playing the Nexus on 2 guaranteed. Whereas this way, I get to go Nexus Drum... pass, and then turn 3 just go for it. But I kind of get busted up if they just have like a Mantis Rider on defense or hold up mana. So we'll have to see. Okay, it's a 3/3 and a Goyf. Goyf does not concern me too much. URZAS Saga. It's a tough spot. If I play Nexus Drum pass, they're just going to untap, attack, and hold up mana. There's no way they're tapping mana. If I play Saga... This is really tough. Alright, I'm going to play Nexus. Oops, I'm going to play Drum. And then pass. Not sure if this is right. But yeah, now they just hold up mana. I guess if they're holding up mana, they're not applying any more pressure, which maybe buys me a turn, perhaps. Okay. Or they just die. Okay, that works too. So let's go Saga, Animate Nexus, attack, make sure they don't block, then play the hammer. Alright. Got game number 1. And against Zoo. I think I do want max paths in this matchup because their creatures do hit a little bit harder. And I think I'm going to cut 2 Memnites, 2 Sentinels, and just bring in 4 paths. And I think that is... I want to cut the Crypt, yeah, so I can keep a 3rd Memnite, perhaps. Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't really want any of the disenchants. Maybe on the play, I'll trim another Memnite, bring in a 3rd Sentinel if we go to game 3 on the play, because I think Sentinel's slightly better on the play. But on the draw, I think I'd rather just have the additional 0-drop as just Metalcraft for Paladin, 0 drops for Springleaf Drums, which is part of your more busted draws, so I think that makes sense to me. Alright, game 2 on the draw. I will show you my Luris. And we have a hand that is missing a 2nd white mana, but has some pretty high upside. I guess it's also missing a bunch of artifacts, right? But I think having double Giver and Saga is good enough. I don't know, I could see this hand being a mulligan. Double Giver is really good against the Zoo deck because they have a minimal amount of interaction. They have bolts, they have helixes, but they don't have a ton of interaction. I'm gonna lead on Giver for sure. All right, Giver has been bolted. I don't have a 2nd land. Well, neither do I. This is kind of awkward. I gotta play the Hammer here. I think I need to be mana efficient. Maybe not. The reason I wanted to play the Hammer is because if I need to draw a land in order to turn on the Saga, if I don't draw a land here, this is going to be really bad. So we really need a land. Okay, perfect. So now I can just make a Saga token and pass. I'm just going to make 2 Sagas. Probably end up getting a Springleaf Drum. I am going to force the action. If they have another bolt, they have another bolt, but I think this is okay for me. If they want to bolt the Construct, that means they're not bolting Giver, so I think I'm fine with that. Protection from green. So we get to eat into Cattle, make another Construct, get a Drum. Oh, okay. I was going to get a Drum, play a Sentinel, hold up stuff for next turn. Next turn, play Paladin, equip the Hammer. But, yeah, I mean, they kept the 1-lander and didn't get there. So, 4-0. Hope you enjoyed the games. See if we can get that 5. I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 5. Alrighty, YouTube. Here for round number 5. We are 4-0. Let's see if we can get a trophy. This hand's kind of the same as the last hand, where it's just has the Aid, a Nexus, lands, and it's really just missing a Hammer. And I think with effectively 12 copies of Hammer, I'm willing to keep hands like this. So, okay, not the best draw. Let's play a Memnite. I think I'm going to hang on to the Crypt. I don't want to show them I have it quite yet. We'll just pass. And Dath Triumph on turn 1. Could mean a plethora of things. It appears to be a Zoo deck of sorts. Do I want to run out the Paladin? Kind of don't mind using my mana. I should have played a land first to see if they wanted to chump block. Represents a double Hammer. Should have played my land first. Kind of don't mind running at the Paladin out there. It's actually kind of good bait, because if they kill this and I draw a Hammer, like, I think baiting a removal spell with this is probably better than them having a removal spell up for Nexus the turn that I go for it if I draw Hammer. They don't know that I don't have Hammer. They might be thinking that I'm just waiting till next turn to get value out of Paladin, so it just kind of makes them think a little bit. And if we break on Hammer, I can just play a Nexus, put Luris in my hand. If they kill Paladin, I can just Luris and replay it, potentially. Oh, do they have Solitude plus Ephemerate? Perhaps. Looks like they do. Okay. That's pretty good for them. Yeah, looks like they do have the Ephemerate. Sure. So Memnite down. What did they exile? Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. So I'll take one, that's fine. Now I can just put Lurrus in my hand. No reason to play the Thopter because it's just going to die to the Solitude. I'm just going to pass. Because they can Ephemerate this in their upkeep. I guess it forces them to cast the Ephemerate, and yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. It is awkward that this exiles, so now I can't Lurrus back the Paladin. So that definitely sucks. Alright, take 4. Stoneforge. Alright, hammer, please. Hammer off the top. I don't think I'm gonna play around a second Solitude. Giver of Runes. They have 4 cards, one of which is a Cauldron. Could sack Silent Clearing, or I could just play Giver Lurrus. Try and bait out some removal that way. I think that's fine. I should play the Clearing this turn. Yeah, because I might want to double sack. Like, if I draw another Clearing, I might want to double sack next turn. So now I'll just pass. I don't think there's really a reason to play the Ornithopter. I'm just going to hang on to it. But yeah, if they want a Solitude to kill the Lurrus, that's fine. Maybe they want to kill the Giver. I don't really mind either way. Just getting removal spells out of their hand is good. Because that means I can go for the Inkmoth if I draw a hammer. And now if I draw Stoneforge, I have enough mana too, because I go 2 for Stoneforge, 2 animate Inkmoth, and then 1 mana left over for the hammer with the Giver up, so I can even beat a removal spell now. They have Grief, that doesn't really matter. I mean, if they have Ephemerate, they can take the Thopter and the Crypt, but neither of those cards matter, so... They have 2 cards, one of which is a Cauldron, and we have a removal spell beat, so Hammer or Stoneforge should be lethal. Put in Cauldron, we take 8, go to 9. Okay, I'm at 9. Hammer, please. Or Stoneforge. There we go. Alright. Somehow won this game. Not really sure how. Their draw was really good. I will attack. To be fair, it wasn't 8 outers, so not too crazy, but crazy that we beat Solitude plus Ephemerate plus Grief, like all that stuff, you know, and a push on our Lurrus. Alright, this is a matchup I probably want maximum Path to Exiles, because Cauldron and Ephemerate, Path is good against both of those cards. This Tormod's Crypt should probably not be in the main deck. Map, Needle. Needle hits Stoneforge Mystic, but not really sure that you want it. Seal of Cleansing / Fragmentize can kill some of the Stoneforge targets, but not Cauldron. And I think Cauldron's the one they're getting first most often, so I think I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. -2 Sentinel, -a Midnight, bring in the Paths. Call it a day. The script should probably be just literally any other Magic card. I just board it out every round. Even just like a better Urza Saga target. Sand's got a bunch of Ornithopters and a bunch of mana. But not really anything else. I'm going to ship this. Sand's not that great either. We do have Paladin and 2 artifacts. I think I'm supposed to keep this. And actually ship the second Paladin. Because if I ship an artifact and draw a hammer, I don't have Metalcraft. But this is worse against discard spells. So it's not like 100% certain which one I should be putting back. It's close. Alright, so they're going to do the Grief Ephemerate thing. Probably take Paladin Memnite or Paladin Ornithopter, doesn't really matter. Alright, you got it. Hopefully, draw Sigarda's Aid. Oh, I guess they're just going to take, yeah, Memnite Ornithopter and then take the Paladin with the next one. Yeah, that makes more sense. Sure. Okie dokie. Alright, Sigarda's 8 I think is the card we want to draw the most. Silent Clearing not so much. I'm playing Plains in case I draw it. They're going to take the Paladin, but if I draw another Paladin, I think it's more important to potentially leave myself the option to cast this on 2. And they're down to 3 cards. We're down to also 3 cards. But. Okay. Stoneforge. Okay. I don't know why they played that, because they knew we had nothing in hand. It might just be better for them to hold that in case I draw, or for the turn that I put Lurrus in my hand. I don't know if they were supposed to play that. Maybe they just have another Ephemerate anyways. And they figure they can just Ephemerate this in my draw step. Alright, well, that is indeed step 1 in winning this game. Just gonna pass. It's definitely step 1. I could sack the clearing end step. Just gonna take this. I could animate Nexus and give it protection from Tidehollow Sculler, but I'd rather just sack the clearing end step, because then I get 2 shots at a hammer. About a path. Path is not great. I have 4 cards. I guess I could just Nexus block Sculler and Path Grief, protect the Nexus, and then they just have nothing. I mean, I'm going to play Clearing and Pass and see what they do. I'm not going to attack with Nexus. I'm not going to, you know, get in with a 1 chip damage a turn. With 1 poison chip damage a turn is not going to get this game over with. I have 5 cards. Let's just Path the Grief. And honestly, if they want to Ephemerate this, I just don't really care, because I have nothing left anyways. And I'll just take 2, go to 8. It just shortens their clock by so much. And I still have a removal spell beat, so I think this is fine. Stoneforge is also fine. Alright, 2 shots and a hammer. It's got to be a hammer, not a Stoneforge, because I don't have enough mana for Stoneforge. I got Cauldra, makes sense. Alright, hammer please. Hammer time? Nope, not hammer time. So they put Cauldra in, and I take 7. I go to 1. Trying to think if there's any reason to put Lurrus in my hand. Is there a reason not to? Can't really think of a reason not to. So, because I can't block with the Giver, because I need to be able to beat a removal spell. Alright, well, we have 7 on board, so I'm going to 1. Putting the drum into play allows me to potentially draw Stoneforge, because then I go tap Plains Nexus, or Plains, Stoneforge, tap Nexus, animate Nexus, tap drum, tap Stoneforge, put the hammer into play with the Giver still up, so. But now if they have 2 removal spells, they have Grief. Grief I don't care too much about. Alright, so hammer or Stoneforge, please. Path to Exile. Does that buy me a turn? Maybe. I'll pass. Depending on whether or not they put Cauldra into play. So if they put Cauldra, I path the Cauldra, block Sculler, protect the Nexus, go to 2. So I guess I do potentially live a turn. Potentially. Animate Nexus. Block Sculler. Protection from black. I guess I'll choose white for Solitude purposes. And then I will path the Cauldra. So we go to 2. Still potentially have Hammer as an out. I mean, at this point, they've got to have a removal spell, right? But again, we still have the Giver, so might be able to beat a removal spell. I guess if I draw Stoneforge and they have Ephemerate, they could draw step Ephemerate the Grief. I drew a Plains anyways. Alright, we'll go to game 3. Had a lot of outs to draw Hammer / Stoneforge Mystic. I think on the play we'll do a Sentinel over a Memnite, call it a day. I still don't really like the Disenchants. Everything else seems kind of medium. One Hammer away from greatness that game. Super close. Alright, so I'll be in the play for game 3. Do that. This hand has a Hammer, a Paladin, a Drum. Oh my goodness, this hand is cracked. I'll keep this. Do I want to hold up Path? Holding up Path doesn't actually accomplish much because they can stack the triggers. Like if they have Grief plus Ephemerate, they can resolve the Grief trigger first, take my Path, and then Ephemerate it. And if I respond to the Grief trigger and Path it, they just Ephemerate anyways. So holding up Path doesn't accomplish much here. So I'm just going to go... If I play Saga on 1 and they blow up the Ornithopter, it's kind of bad for me. So I guess I should play around that. But I want to dump everything, I think. I just want to dump my hand. I think dumping my hand is good. There is some consideration to hold the Hammer if I draw Sigarda's Aid. But if I hold the Hammer, let's say I just pass with, like, Drum. Like, I just play these, don't play the Thopter, don't play the Hammer. They Grief, Ephemerate, they just take the Hammer and the Paladin anyways. So this way, if they Grief Ephemerate, they take... Okay, well, they don't have Grief. That's good. So now we can go Memnite, Saga, Paladin, equip the Ornithopter, slam for 10, and then probably re-equip the Paladin. I should probably leave the equipment on something that's not the Paladin in case they kill the Paladin. Because they're so likely to just have, you know, like a Solitude or something. So, yeah, I guess I'll leave it like this. I think that makes sense. Let's see what they have. Notably, they didn't Solitude the Ornithopter there, so they either don't have it or are choosing to wait, because they could potentially have Ephemerate, so they wanted to hold on to Solitude till they could Solitude plus Ephemerate. So we'll see what they do. So they're going to go to 5? It's pretty low. It's pretty low. Alright, so they do have Solitude Ephemerate. It's kind of unfortunate. Now they don't have Path up. Okay. Yep, so they're going to kill the Ornithopter. Yep. We do go to 30, so... Oh, they have Rebirth. Okay, so they're at 3. I mean, the good thing about this is we still have Saga. Right? So this isn't too bad. All things considered. They shocked, though. Oh, because they needed black mana. They didn't have black mana. That's why they shocked. I did draw the Sigarda's Aid. I'm just going to make a Saga token here. I'm just going to pass. They only have 2 cards left, and we have 2 Saga tokens. So I think we're still in a pretty commanding position. They have Ephemerate. So the awkward part about responding, like, I let that go, float a mana, make a construct, and they just get to blink this again and kill my construct. So I'm down a construct either way. And if I'm down a construct either way, I might as well just kill it. I think that ends up being better. Because if I let that go, they target Memnite, right? I respond, tap drum, tap Memnite, float a mana, let it go, make a Saga token. Then they just upkeep, Ephemerate the Solitude, Saga token. So it still ends up being bad for me. So that's kind of why I chose not to do that. Now we could kind of be in an awkward spot. Where now they're going to get Cauldron probably. They got Sword of Fire and Ice. Which is an interesting one to get when I have a Construct coming. Unless they have another removal spell as their last card. So let's get probably the Shadow Spear. Play Ornithopter and then just pass. Yeah, we can't do anything else, so. There's no reason to put a second hammer in play. Alright, they have Fatal Push, so their last card is Sword of Fire and Ice. But they're at 3. So they're kind of in an awkward spot. I guess they can go Violin, Sword. Sword equip the Hierarch. And then attack and kill the Ornithopter. And then we need to find a hammer. They have Cauldron. Uh-oh. That's not good. Shoot. Alright, take 6. Drew Pure Steel Paladin. Oh, that should do it. Yeah, because their last card's Sword. Alright. Do this, play Pure Steel, and then equip both these for free. This thing has Trample. Whew, that was a good draw. Alright, got the 5-0. Because we know their last card is Sword of Fire and Ice. Not too bad. Alright, that was a nice little league with HammerTime. Let's go over the deck real quick, see what anything we want to change. I mean, honestly, deck felt pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of the main deck Tormod script. We didn't draw Esper Sentinel that much. I was kind of curious to see how that kind of changed the equation. It was good in some spots, but just providing Metalcraft for your Pure Steel Paladins, a good card that you can recycle with Luris because your opponent usually has to kill it if they don't want to give you multiple cards off of it. So overall, deck still feels pretty powerful. Also just an amazing Urza Saga deck because the best card in your deck is Colossus Hammer, and Urza Saga is not only 2 constructs, but also just more copies of Colossus Hammer. So still a very, very good strategy if you're into this sort of thing. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to smash that like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.